Hello, I am Eva Carter, and today we are going on a journey into the past to uncover the mystery of a woman whose life feels like an unbelievable mix of fairy tale glamour and deep personal struggle. Very few people know that the great Hans Christian Andersen was a frequent guest at her family home and personally read his stories to her and her siblings. However, his most famous tale, The Little Mermaid, became a chilling prophecy for Princess Alexandra of Denmark. Just like the character in the story, she had to sacrifice her voice, endure unbearable physical pain, and face the betrayal of the man she gave her heart to. Before we dive into this captivating story of patience, fashion, and royal secrets, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. Stories like this help us see beyond the gold and diamonds to the real human beings behind the crown. The story of the future queen began in 1844 in Copenhagen, in a building known as the Yellow Palace. By the standards of the high nobility, it was more of a modest townhouse than a royal residence. Alexandra's family, who affectionately called her Alix, lived in a state of elegant poverty, which was very rare for a royal house at that time. Her father, the future King Christian IX, was then a simple officer with a modest salary of £800 a year. Alexandra shared a tiny attic room with her sister Dagmar, who would later become the Russian Empress Maria Fyodorovna. There was no room for luxury or entitlement in their home. The girls were taught how to sew, do housework, and even make their own dresses. Later in life, this practical upbringing would earn her the sincere admiration of the British elite, who were used to suffocating formalities and endless servants. This quiet life in Denmark changed forever when Queen Victoria and her husband, Prince Albert, began looking for a bride for their eldest son, Albert Edward, the Prince of Wales. The young man, known to his family as Bertie, was a difficult character and far from the ideal son his strict parents wanted. When he was 19 years old, while staying at a military camp, he was involved in a scandal with an actress named Nellie Clifton, who had been secretly brought to his tent by his friends. When the news reached his father, Prince Albert traveled to Cambridge to have a very difficult conversation with his son during a cold rainstorm. Prince Albert was already unwell, and he passed away shortly after that meeting. For the rest of her life, Queen Victoria was convinced that her son's poor choices and the stress they caused were the reasons her beloved husband was gone so soon. Despite the Queen's anger, a marriage was necessary to settle the heir down, and Alexandra was chosen to be the Princess of Wales. Their wedding in 1863 at St. George's Chapel was an event full of tension because the British court was still in deep mourning. Queen Victoria watched the ceremony from a balcony, dressed entirely in black, and even insisted that a bust of her late husband be placed between the couple in the official wedding photograph. Alexandra was not allowed to wear her favorite Brussels lace because she was forced to support the local textile industry. However, the princess showed her strong will by secretly adding the forbidden lace to her gown anyway. This wedding was the start of her long journey in a new country, where she was welcomed like a modern celebrity and celebrated as the daughter of a sea king. For Alexandra, being a mother was her greatest joy and a way to protect her personal life from the influence of her powerful mother-in-law. She gave birth to 6 children, and every single time they arrived earlier than expected. This led to rumors that Alexandra was intentionally lying to Queen Victoria about her due dates to keep the Queen from being present in the delivery room. Alexandra broke almost every unwritten rule of the royal court. She bathed her children herself, changed their clothes, and even breastfed them, which Queen Victoria found completely unacceptable and almost animalistic. Their relationship grew even more tense due to politics, as Alexandra was a proud Dane and refused to support the pro-German views held by Victoria and her eldest daughter. These family arguments, set against the backdrop of European conflicts, created a constant pressure that Alexandra handled with incredible grace. In 1867, after the birth of her third child, the princess faced a terrible health crisis known as acute rheumatic fever. This illness changed her life forever, leaving her with permanent damage to her joints and her hearing. Alexandra was left with a limp and began to lose her ability to hear the world around her. However, she was so popular that a strange fashion trend began in London called the Alexandra limp. Hundreds of women started limping on purpose and wearing shoes with different heel heights just to copy her. While the princess struggled with physical pain and the growing silence of her world, her husband continued to seek the company of many other women, such as the actress Lily Langtry and the Countess of Warwick. Alexandra was aware of these relationships, but never allowed herself to make a public scene, always maintaining her dignity. One of the most famous women in her husband's life was Alice Keppel, the great-great-grandmother of the current Queen Camilla. Their relationship was so well known that Alice's husband would even leave the house when the prince visited. Surprisingly, Alexandra managed to stay polite toward Alice, appreciating her ability to calm the king's difficult temper. As a quiet form of revenge for his many betrayals, Alexandra would often make her husband wait for hours before public events or leave the country with her children without telling him where she was going. She found comfort in charity work, visiting hospitals and showing genuine kindness to those in need, including Joseph Merrick, famously known as the Elephant Man. Her kindness toward wounded soldiers, to whom she would jokingly talk about her own limp, made her the first people's princess, long before the world knew Diana Spencer. In 1901, after the passing of Queen Victoria, Alexandra finally became the queen consort, although her health and spirit were tired by that time. The loss of her eldest son, Albert Victor, at the age of 28 due to an infection, was a tragedy she never truly recovered from. During the First World War, she continued to help military hospitals, even though her hearing loss and age made it hard for her to communicate. In her final years, she tried desperately to keep her fading beauty by using thick layers of makeup, which people at the time called enameling. She rarely left her private rooms as she grew older. She passed away in 1925, leaving behind a massive collection of photographs that captured an entire era of history. I hope this story touched your heart as much as it did mine. Please make sure to check out the 2 other interesting videos appearing on your screen now to learn more about the incredible lives of the past.